Peace is said to come from heaven. However, Tai is solely to blame for the recent eruption of a new storm in Hawaii. There have been rumors that Tai revealed Evelyn's true intentions in a shocking revelation. The family is currently in a state of shock. There are rumors circulating that, in private, Tai accused Evelyn of siding with Chantel and snooping on her while posing as a friend. Evelyn was rendered completely speechless by the swaying palms, and emotions were running high as her entire life was upended. The news that Evelyn, who is often so composed, was compelled to make an impromptu apology to Brandi. That seemed more like damage control than sincere regret startled fans. Would the close-knit group eventually fall apart as a result of this shocking revelation? Or will Evelyn's hasty apology be sufficient to bridge the gap? Do the stakes increase with each fresh accusation? Is Tai pursuing legal action for his Chantel stirring the pot or trying to get a front-row ticket to the mayhem? Nothing in paradise is ever as peaceful as it seems, so stay tuned as we reveal more about this developing drama. Furthermore, this may be the largest betrayal the BBWLA has ever witnessed. Tai's eyes were focused on Evelyn as he spoke, his voice piercing the tropical breeze like a thunderclap. So, Evelyn, you've been playing both sides. Under the pretense of friendship, he requested. Arms crossed and palms swaying overhead, too. Test Chantal's commitment. Time seemed to stop for a second, and Evelyn's breath caught in her throat as the bright Hawaiian sun felt too harsh. She opened her mouth to respond, but the allegations stuck like a stone. The rest of the group exchanged words with each other. Confused looks. Brittany, who had been relaxing close by, leaped to her feet as Spike noticed the tension. Tai, what are you talking about? Her eyes danced between Tai and Evelyn, uncertain which side to support, and her voice trembled with a mixture of disbelief and fury as she questioned. Denise informed me. You've been asking Chantal personal questions? Trying to dig up dirt while pretending to be genuine, Tai said, his jaw clenched. Evelyn's cheeks flushed as she turned to face Chantal, who was standing there, and heard a whispered mutter that echoed through the group despite his low voice. Ever the mediator, Brittany came forward and said, cautiously, Evelyn, is this true? Chantal's face was impassive, but her eyes sparkled with anguish. It was obvious the rumor had broken her trust. I wasn't hunting for dirt. Evelyn eventually mumbled, swallowing hard and looking at each friend in turn. I was worried about Chantal. After everything with Denise, I wanted to make sure she was okay. Tai sneered, you went too far. He paced a few paces, waving with his arms for emphasis. You made assumptions rather than speaking like an adult. Gave Denise the impression that you had a plan. Denise never told me anything? Why would I assume? Evelyn objected, her voice shaking. Because she's your friend and she heard rumors about you. Tai retaliated. I didn't see this coming, Claire said to Brittany in a whisper as she watched from the sidelines. You fueled it instead of clearing it up. The group sensed the weight of the layers coming apart as Brittany nodded, worry written on her face. The ties they had formed, Evelyn clenched her fists, pain and frustration swirling, feeling threatened by suspicion. The ocean waves crashed somewhere beyond the palm trees, a reminder of the paradise that had abruptly turned into a stage 4 betrayal. She had traveled across the world to avoid the drama of law, only to be caught off guard by rumors she was unaware existed. Why would Denise accuse her without first speaking? I apologize for the misunderstanding, she thought, taking a deep breath before looking directly into Tai's eyes. I'm sorry, she whispered softly, her words echoing oddly in the humid air. I never intended to go too far because I care about Chantal, with brittle and shaky ties. The apologies hung in the wind. For a brief moment, his expression softened, and then he crossed his arms once again. He whispered, sorry isn't enough. The others murmured in agreement. You owe more than empty words. Fans are shocked. One could say that since the family was split up, feelings were running high. Brittany tightened her jaw behind divided between resentment of the concealment that had stoked these suspicions and loyalty to Evelyn. Uncertainty flickered in her eyes as she stepped back. At last, Chantel spoke. Steady but quiet voice. I trusted you, Evelyn. You could have approached me immediately if you were worried. Her remarks were like a slap to Evelyn. Evelyn understood then just how brittle trust really was. More painful than any charge was hearing Chantal's dismay. You're right. Should have talked to you first, she said, bowing her head and speaking in a cracking voice. I apologize. I went to Denise instead of you because I was afraid. Chantal's eyes filled with emotion, both relief and pain. Was this apology sufficient to mend the rift, even if it felt more genuine and honest? Ty observed this confrontation, arms still folded. Brittany took a breath and thought about the consequences. Fans are taken aback. Feelings were running high. The family was split apart. More disclosures were to follow. However, the drone of a camera attracted everyone's attention before they could react. A member of the production crew pointed them in the direction of a new spot, a remote cove where the next task was waiting. Tension was high as the group moved together, Evelyn and Chanel's silent apology still lingering as they strolled along. The beach walkway. Evelyn found it difficult to control her pounding heart. Her genuineness seemed to be put to the test with every step. Would Chantal ever be trusted again? Was this Ty content with his bombshell being acknowledged? For these companions, laughter seemed far away, yet the ocean tempted them with laughter in the distance. Seeing an opening, Ty drew Brittany away. The hushed words, "This apology was strategic." Brittany paused before asking, "Can we really believe it was genuine? Would an apology under such circumstances be sincere?" She gets a nod from Doubts. Evelyn followed, listening in on their conversation. Her heart fell. This was alone in a paradise. That felt like a trap all of a sudden. She was roiling with doubt and regret. She needed to demonstrate that her concern for Chantel went beyond making dramatic headlines. She saw Brandi waiting at the water's edge as she got closer to the cove, recording with a phone in hand. Bry's lips were squeezed hard, and his face looked unreadable. Evelyn felt a knot in her stomach. She still hadn't told Brandi that she was sorry for being so chilly in Vegas. Ty recognizes the opportunity. "Let's talk to Brandi too, Evelyn," he replied. With interest shining in her eyes, Brandi stepped forward and tilted her head. Evelyn dreaded an apology at this point, aired while being closely observed. Would she have the guts? She took a breath, moved to stand next to Brandi, and talked into Bry's camera. "I'm sorry, Brandi, for being so critical in Vegas and for not expressing my appreciation. I regret my reaction and cherish our connection." Her tone faltered, but her sincerity was evident. As she looked into Bry's eyes, after examining her for a heartbeat, Brandi gave her a small nod. Every moment of emotion was captured by the camera. The question was still there even after the apologies. Would it repair the damaged ties, or would it only postpone the next detonation? Long shadows were produced on the sand by the sun's descent. The remainder of the drama was set up to play out. There are secrets simmering beneath the surface, just waiting to be revealed. Ocean waves in the distance kept up their steady cheering, as though they were waiting for the next surprise. As the company gathered around the woven table filled with steaming Kahlua pig and Poi Thai's cunning smile remained in the flickering torchlight. The salty air mixed with the aroma of grilled pork, establishing a false sense of tranquility. Chantal looked at Evelyn and reached for a dish. She whispered, "I suppose we're actually doing this?" Evelyn pushed her hair behind her ear and nodded. "I mean it," she muttered in response. Her voice trembling showed her nerves, but she was determined to keep them safe. Denise and Brittany started putting plates together, throwing slices of fresh pineapple into bowls. Lifting a coconut shell filled with sweet tea, Claire made a toast. Quietly, to new beginnings, she said. With a tentative truce represented by Shattered shells, the group clinked their shells. Coconut. However, Ty's camera lingered, catching every detail. Fans are taken aback. It felt like a premonition as he said into his phone, "Watch as friendships simmer and boil in paradise." Evelyn inhaled deeply before speaking. "I apologize, I know," she acknowledged, her voice barely audible above the roaring. "Fire, I can only go so far. I therefore want to convey something genuine tonight." Curiosity softened their fatigue as the others paused. Brittany leaned closer. Her words were listening, were encouraging. Evelyn nodded and went on. "When Chantal confided in me about her feelings of hurt, her eyes shifted to Chantal, whose face softened. It reminded me of being let down by people I trusted most. I've carried that pain for years." Chantel put her fork down. Her voice caught as she added, I didn't realize. The vulnerability of the disclosure sat between them. Denise talked to each other. Brittany's expression was one of surprise. T's camera focused on Chantal's response. Her understanding was evident from the tiny tremor at the corner of her mouth. Shan went on to say this isn't just about gossip. It has to do with trust. No beach challenge or luau can mend it once it's broken. It's able to solve it. Evelyn swallowed hard and nodded. I am aware and prepared to regain that trust. No shortcuts. As everyone struggled with their own experiences of betrayal, the gathering became silent. Reaching across the table, Claire covered Evelyn's hand with hers. Softly, we all screw up, she remarked. However, confronting it directly signifies everything. Let's discuss, not hide, tonight. As they exchanged plates and shared, the flicker of torchlight reflected in everyone's eyes as though it were lighting their concerns. Bite-sized morsels of laughter erupted. Denise related an incident from a previous hula class. Even Ty giggled. Softly, as Brittany added an anecdote about a miscast ukulele chord. Through storytelling and shared food, the atmosphere relaxed and changed. The aftershocks of the morning's bombshells, however, continued to pulse abruptly beneath the grins. As ashes danced into the night sky, a burst of wind blew across the area. Ty grabbed the opportunity. Speaking of secrets, he started out. Boys are laid back. I heard a rumor concerning Evo's phone. Was it mentioned by anyone? There was confusion among the bunch. Evelyn felt her heart thump. My phone, she said one more. What rumor? Ty held up his smartphone, his eyes gleaming. Caillou emailed Brandi behind her back, accusing her of being toxic and moaning that she wasn't encouraging. Even a hush dropped. Bry's smile vanished as her fork froze in midair. Evelyn's cheeks were burning. I never would, she stumbled. Bry's face grew stern. Did you say that I was toxic? With a quivering voice, she demanded. Denise got up suddenly, scratching her chair. In opposition to sand. Hold on. Whence did this originate? Brittany's hands were trembling. Are you certain, Ty? Ty gave the screen a tap. I have screen grabs. You cursed at Brandi. Accused her of pursuing attention. Claire covered her mouth in a gulp. Evelyn felt her heart race. Not true, she insisted, her eyes welling with tears. Chantel's face furrowed as she turned from Ty to Evelyn, saying, someone must have doctored it. She whispered, why would you text that? Evelyn's throat grew constricted. She looked at Brittany, who shook her head in a tiny, painful way. I believe that Brandi crossed her arms. Advancing, she whispered softly. I'm not sure what to believe now, though. Doubt was back, heavier than ever, and the light from the ember wavered. Ty put his phone down, enjoying the moment. Shouting, fans are shocked, he said. News travels fast when drama is on the menu. A low rumble resounded from the cliffs as the gang took in the charge. Maybe a storm is coming, or it's just the sound of their broken oneness. Ty got up and spoke. Clarity is necessary. Show us the texts, Evelyn. Evelyn's fingers shook as she pulled out her phone in the light of the torch. apps were arranged nicely on her black screen. With a hint of dread in her voice, she stated, "I don't have those messages." Brittany made contact. She begged to be let, to breathe. Denise interrupted in a forceful voice. "Show Ty the evidence if you have it. If not, however, we terminate this immediately." Swiping through his pictures, Ty grinned. The seed of skepticism is sown, proof or not. Tears came to Bry's eyes. "Why would you harm me in this way?" she muttered. Evelyn stepped forward shakily. "I promise I didn't send those texts. Someone is trying to trick us." Chantal looked at Ty. "And you're only going to incite more drama with that?" With steely gaze, Ty shrugged. Without twists, what would TV be? Tension rose as the bonfire crackled. Chantal's phone buzzed in her pocket out of nowhere. Her eyes grew wide when she checked it. This message was sent by a burner account posing as me. A screenshot of Evelyn's purported text message sent from an anonymous number was displayed on her screen. Chantal came to the conclusion that Evelyn was being framed. Firm voice, in spite of the shock. "They also want to see us burn." There was a startled quiet for a moment. Brandi wiped away her tears. "Maybe she's telling the truth," Brittany said in a quiet voice. Denise's jaw tightened as she considered the prospect. For a brief while, Ty's smile wavered. He retorted, "Or is this another layer of the game?" The family was split between distrust, the desire for vindication as emotions ran high. The surprising twist shocks the fans. Now, the rumors are getting out of hand. A mixture of relief and fear squeezed Evelyn's chest. "We need answers," she stated firmly. "Let's locate someone who wants mayhem." Brittany nodded, her resolve evident in her concern. Sand was swept by SHANTEL out of her shorts. "We start by determining where those texts came from." Clara's head cocked. "Second, we determine whether we can still rely on one another." The storm hit overhead as the gang, bound together by a shared purpose, gathered under the torchlight. Rain pattering on the palm like a plotting fronds. The drama was waiting to be written in its next chapter. As the rain seeped through the palm fronds, Ty's grin persisted. The group's strained faces were covered in droplets. Chantal looked at Evelyn as she pocketed her phone. The steady patter of rain against the tiki torches was the only sound for a minute. Brittany then cleared her throat in a quiet but resolute voice. "We must identify the person responsible for this burner account. We can't trust anyone if they're playing puppet master," she remarked. Evelyn nodded, her hair stuck to her forehead. She said steadily, "Let's divide up and trace the messages," in spite of her heart pounding. Denise looked doubtfully. "All around the circle, we have one hint." She reminded them that the screenshot originated from an anonymous number. "We require technical assistance." Claire's eyebrow went up. Quietly, she said, "I know a local hacker from LA who's on vacation here. We might be able to track down the IP address if we can gain his assistance." Ty's eyes glowed. He whispered, "Now that's a twist," and moved toward Evelyn. He said, in a lighthearted tone, "You're really marshaling an investigation. This is turning into Detective BBWLA." The underlying suspicion was profound. Chantal folded her arms without hesitation. Her words, "We don't have time for theatrics," before further rumors start to circulate. "We need answers." Claire took out her laptop and turned it on inside the improvised shelter of a big palapa hut. Evelyn paced close by, keys clacking as she dialed the hacker's number, remembering every conversation from the previous 24 hours. Who was motivated to set her up? From their discord, who benefited? Brittany and Chantal appeared as Claire's screen came to life. Looked over her shoulder. The hacker's avatar appeared with a blink. He verified that he could track down the sender of the forwarded mail in a matter of minutes. Outside, tension grew as the rain grew heavier. In the distance, there is thunder. Claire said. I've got something. The IP address points to the Wi-Fi network of a nearby resort. The assembly erupted in gasps. Ty pulled his phone out. It's where we stayed last night, he replied. The luau party. Shanto pursed his brow. Does anyone here work for the resort or have access to the band's network? Denise frowned. Or perhaps it was a visitor who had too much free time. Brittany bit her lip. We must make it more specific. Analyzing the resort's guest list was the hacker's recommendation. Claire scowled. That's not what we have, she said. We need management's assistance. Evelyn's heartbeat accelerated. She paused. She offered to let me speak with the resort manager. He and I did get along during check-in. Chantal gave her a questioning gaze. And you believe he will assist? Evelyn inhaled deeply. I'm hoping so. Ty's eyebrow went up. He teased remediation by smooth talking. Proceed, Miss Be a Diplomat. Evelyn's shoulders went square. Slipping out from under the palapa and into the rain, she said, Go now. Brittany came next. Come on, too, she added. This shouldn't be done by you alone. Raindrops streaked the wood floor as they sprinted into the main cabin. The manager was behind a reception desk inside. The walls are lined with Polaroids from past beach volleyball competitions. Evelyn came over in a courteous tone. Pardon me, I need your assistance with a security issue, she said, merely mentioning that it concerns cyberbullying through the resort's network. The manager scowled. He reiterated, Have you informed our security team about this cyber harassment? Evelyn shook her head, saying, Not just yet. First, I wanted to see if we could figure out where it came from. As he tapped on his tablet, his eyebrows furrowed. I can pull connection logs for the date and time you specify, he said, after a tense minute, nodding. Found it, he continued, reading an identifier out loud as Brittany anxiously watched him flip through pages. The MAC address was linked to guest room 12, which was occupied by a woman named Marina Thomas. Evelyn gasped as she realized that Marina Thomas, the actress who had previously filmed a cameo with them at the beach, had both access and a motive, perhaps to create drama for her own content. Her character, a TV influencer, had been filming B-roll for a tourist destination, and Chantal had briefly engaged with her. The manager printed the log sheet, demanding evidence. And Evelyn thanked him while running back into the rain with Brittany. When they got back, the palapa was empty, and Ty, Denise, and Claire gathered around Claire's laptop, while Ty's phone captured the reunion. What did you find? He questioned excitedly as Evelyn handed out the sheet. Marina Thomas, guest room 12, the influencer. Denise folded her arms, was filming us for her channel. Chantal's brows tightened. Let's approach her. Let's confront her. Brittany remarked, shocked. She staged it, planted the text, and released the rumor for clicks. Marina came out of her door, holding her phone, and said, Ladies, guys, what's going on? We know you used the resort's Wi-Fi to frame Evelyn, she said, pretending to be innocent. Chantal then came forward with a cold voice. She made the accusation. I have no idea what you're talking about, Marina said, her smile wavering. Ty's camera recorded every flicker of discomfort on her face. Brittany held up the printout. You want to explain? It's a possibility of I didn't send those texts. But I witnessed someone tampering with your phones backstage at the Luau Collective. Marlena's single quote's calmness broke as she stuffed the phone in her pocket. Spine, she mumbled. So it wasn't you, Chantal said, and Marina shook her head. No, but I know who did it. Denise screamed in shock. It was Grace Kim, the resort's assistant activities director, helpful and always there, who had joined them for the waterfall rappel and videotaped them performing coconut bowling. Why would Grace do that? Marina took a trembling breath and said, I saw her slip something into your bag at the welcome party, in a low voice. I thought it was sunscreen or a snack, but later I found a burner SIM taped inside your bag. Evelyn's mind was racing, so she planted the SIM to send false messages for the duration of the drama in order. To increase the resort's ratings, Bidnice ran a hand through her hair while filming our tantrum. This is crazy. Ty turned off his camera. The drama had escalated to a new level. Insider manipulation, not influencer sabotage. The rain subsided to a sprinkle, and Chantal asked Marina to confirm. Grace Kim showed up panting, her hair wet and covered in mist, but Claire stopped her way. "You need answers?" she murmured, and Grace's eyes opened. "Swear I didn't," she said, but Brittany interrupted. "You put a burner sim in Evelyn's bag?" Marina says, "Goodbye." "I wanted to test the group's unity," Grace admitted. Her face, CRUMPLING. Rain in tears, mingling. "We record these struggles and share them on social media. Clicks are driven by controversy. I believed our ratings would soar if I created tension." Chantal's voice shook with rage as shock shook the circle. The resort staff watched in disbelief. As Grace nodded and said, "I'm sorry it got out of hand," Evelyn looked at Grace, the betrayal still blazing in her eyes. "You tried to destroy our trust for views." Denise stepped forward. "What do you think?" Ty said, raising his camera again. "Fans are shocked," he said. Reality evolved into actual treachery. Emotions erupted as the family was left divided between anger and forgiveness. "Want from us?" Grace looked up, regretting what she had done. "I'll take everything out. I'll erase the video. I'll quit." She sighed. She was defeated. The rain had stopped and there was silence in paradise. Evelyn's chest constricted. She looked at Chantal, Brittany, Denise, Claire, and Ty. Truth came out. She muttered quietly. "We now choose how to handle it." With the glimmer of torchlight bouncing off damp leaves, the group drew closer. As Chantal, Brittany, Claire, Denise, and Evelyn crouched beneath the palapa's edge. Looking at Claire's laptop screen, the rain grew heavier, beating a frantic rhythm against the palm leaves as they readied themselves to face the last act of this twisted drama. The menacing text came back. "Do you believe this is the end of it? Rethink your thought." At first, they all remained motionless as the weight of that message pressed down on them like the humid air. Brittany leaned forward, her damp hair stuck to her cheeks, while Chantal whispered, "Trace this number. Let's find out who's still pulling strings." At last, her fingers lingered over the keyboard. Her words, "We need answers now," were important. Evelyn felt her heart race. Every beat reflected every betrayal they had endured. Thunder rolled outside as if the island itself were alerting them to the impending storm. Claire typed frantically, her glasses reflecting the lines of code. Denise crossed her arms, gritted her jaw, and walked behind. Despite the anxiety, Brittany's voice remained steady as she whispered encouragements. Claire let out a breath after what seemed like a lifetime. As she clicked through the results, she declared, "I got a location. It is emanating from the maintenance sheds, located approximately half a mile south of the ancient lighthouse." Through them went a collective shudder. According to rumors, the abandoned lighthouse route was haunted and ideal for a secret gathering. Chantal's tone hardened with purpose as she continued, "Let's go." They ran headlong into the rain without hesitation. Water trickled from banana leaves into their faces as the muddy road wound through dense forest. With torches bobbing like willow and wisps in the night, Chantal grabbed Brittany's arm after she stumbled once. "You okay?" she said quietly. Brittany wiped the wetness from her lashes and nodded. "I was just nervous," she said. Evelyn pushed her, saying this could be whoever wants to tear us apart for good. Jacket tighter, remembering Grace's expression moments prior and the potential for someone else to have much more sinister intentions. As they reached the top of a tiny hill and caught sight of the lighthouse's silhouette, the thunder roared. Once again, peeling white paint beneath the stormy sky. Next to it, a group of sheds stood out like skeletal remains, leading the route. Denise pressed her ear to the door of the first shed. Through fissures came a faint glimmer and the sound of frantic low voices. She halted, then turned around. She muttered, "We'll divide into 2 groups. You're with me, Chantal. You and Evelyn flank," said Brittany. Claire paused. "And you?" she inquired. Denise nodded reassuringly at her. "I'll remain here. The laptop's monitor lights on. Any indication of trouble, we retreat." The plan was established. They moved ahead stealthily, squatching in the muck. Brittany pushed 1 jar at a time, and the doors creaked. Crates and twisted cables were visible within in the weak lantern light, and 2 people bent over a computer. Evelyn gasped with surprise. There was a familiar silhouette. The other stepped into the light of the lantern, shouting, "That's it, can't be," she said. Chantal and Denise rushed in. Chantal's gaze grew strained. "Riley," she cried out. The young production assistant held her laptop to her chest as she froze. A tall woman with a hood over her face turned next to her. Evelyn and Brittany hurried in from the opposite side. "Who is she?" demanded Evelyn. Riley glanced back and forth between them. "Please listen," she said in a shaky voice. The hooded woman stepped closer, her features visible in the lantern light, and said, "I didn't want to hurt anyone. It was Chantal's cousin Kiki, who was presumably on maternity leave back home." The shed reverberated with gasps. Tears and rain were streaking Kiki's cheeks. "I apologize. They forced me to do it even though," she choked out. Chantal's complexion turned pallid. Who created you?" Kiki took a deep breath. "The producers of the network. They endangered the safety of my family and my job. They threatened to cut me off if I didn't continue the charade. I put that burner SIM in Evelyn's bag, gave them secrets, and dispatched the messages. However, it was insufficient. They desired more." Brittany's fists clenched. She added, "You betrayed all of us," in a trembling voice. Kiki fell to the ground. "I had no choice," she said in a low voice. Denise moved closer and uncrossed her arms, saying, "Please. There's always an option," she stated firmly. "However, we now have choices to make." Chantal was crying as she knelt next to her cousin. She cried, "I trusted you." Kiki extended her arm and took Chantal's hand. She repeated in a shaky voice, "I'm so sorry." The crash of thunder outside seemed to punctuate every emotion. A handheld radio crackled Claire's voice. "Another message is here." The Lagoon Cove was the new location. Brittany reached for her cell phone. "The target is being moved. They wish to live stream our response." Evelyn and Chantal looked at each other. The creators weren't finished yet. Without saying anything. They also assisted Kiki. She was led out of the shed by her feet. As they made their way back to the Lagoon Cove where torches that had been placed up to light the water's edge, the rain had subsided to a mist. Lenses pointed like ravenous eyes. Cameras were positioned. Familiar faces took the place of the hooded crew members from before. The head cameraman, costumed extras, and the show's director disappearing into the darkness. Under a tarp, the producers came out, bright beams shining on their faces. The director shouted out, "Welcome back, ladies," in a falsely cheerful voice. With her fist clenched, Chantal moved forward and said, "We thought you'd like to see the final chapter. This ends now," she said. The filmmaker's grin wavered. He held up a hand and murmured, "Let's not be hasty," Brittany sneered. "You owe them a show. We have an audience waiting. We owe them honesty, not more lies." Denise took Chantal's place at the front. The top cameraman aimed his camera toward Kiki and said, "We're done being your pawns." "How about her?" he inquired. "She also has a role in the narrative." Kiki and the team were separated by Evelyn, who shoved past them. "No," she firmly said. "She is a member of the family. They forced her to do it. And you created tension by playing on her fear." The lanterns flickered and thunder rolled one last time. A dot. Kiki spoke up in that tense time, her voice calm in spite of her tears. She declared, "I'm done hiding. I will reveal the truth to the world." As the production lights buzzed to life, she lifted her chin and turned to face Evan, the flashing bulb. After hesitating, the head cameraman, he lowered his camera. He said, "If that's what you want," in a bland voice. The staff and extras then dispersed into the night. After exchanging looks, the producers hid under their tarp. The lagoon cove went quiet. But Shell pulled her in with the soft sound of the waves. Cousins, Denise, encircled Claire's arm. While Brittany stood by Evelyn's shoulders, they formed a circle. Beneath the starless sky, wounded but unbroken. No longer they took back their story from the network's puppets. Beyond the cove, somewhere, the sound of the final traces of made goods were swept away by distant waves.